And we are live now.
Okay,
It's the
beautiful.
station that loves music and loves life, loves jazz, loves you and everything that helps you to develop. And that's why we have this segment and this show's really. You're listening to Office Journal on Smooth 98.1, and that is the name of the show you listen to every Tuesday from 11 till 11:50, where we're discussing things around let's say your productivity and your mental wellness, as well as your increase in every aspect. We talk about etiquette, we talk about education. Today, we're talking about job hopping, not from my point of view, from a recruiter's point of view, a consultant. And you can join us using different avenues. You can use WhatsApp 0809 444 0981. That's the WhatsApp line 0809 444 0981. We also are streaming live on YouTube. That allows you to be a part of the conversation. So you can actually go there to watch and also use the live chat option to drop your comments. Then we do have the call line as well. That is 014489981. So that allows you to drop your questions, or maybe there is something we have said that has been explained that you do not agree with. Whatever the case is, you're very welcome. My name is Oluwaseun, and joining me via Zoom, I am so glad for his presence this morning. Despite the tight schedule, he just managed to squeeze us in. He's no stranger to the show. I believe he's been here 4 times now. This should be the fourth time. He's an HR consultant, he's a recruiter, and he's a lot of things. He's at over 15, if not close to 20 years of experience in human resources from different industry, from the oil and gas to the FMCG, that's fast moving consumer goods, and many more. So please welcome Mr. Victor Adebayo. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much, and great to be here once again. And good morning, Lagos. It's always a great privilege speaking to our big Lagosians.
Thank you for creating the time for us this morning. Okay, so let's dive right into it. Job hopping, from the dictionary meaning or the internet definition, it's basically moving from one job to the other in a short space of time. But if we put it into your context, in how many space would a person need to move from a job before you can say, you're job hopping?
Okay, so when we started our career, it was expected that you should spend a minimum of 5 to 10 years in a company before you think of moving on.
Interesting.
So if you moved earlier than 5 years, you'll be considered a job hopper. Gradually, it dropped to 3 years. Now, you will be called a job hopper if you move every year or within the year. And then, you quit that job and then you pick up another one. So a job hopper is basically someone who moves from one job to the next job within a very short period of time. The short period of time has varied over time. It used to be from 5 years, now 3 years, but now it's considered that if you move every year, it's a job hopper. And I mean, I saw a LinkedIn post sometime when someone said, after a very long time in a company, and as I read further, this young lady said, I've spent 18 months here, and I'm like, blood of Zerubbabel. 18 months is a long time, really. But I mean, it's the new reality we are dealing with. So you consider the job offer if you move after a year or every year?
I like where you started from, when you said during our time when we started 5 to 10 years. And I am assuming you're referring to the baby boomers, maybe the late millennials, and the Generation X, because according to a recent study, so I will come to Nigeria to ask if that applies, especially from your experience. So in the United States, according to a study that was conducted by the Employee Benefit Research Institute, they said that over 22% of workers aged 20 years, in other words, maybe the lower millennial, for the lack of a better word, and Gen Z, are more prone to move into job hopping. So in your experience, would you say that holds true in Nigeria?
Yes, it also holds true in Nigeria. And in fact, they leave after 3 months. They leave after 6 months. Even before confirmation of appointments, people leave. And the reasons are not far-fetched. People are beginning to prioritize themselves and thinking about themselves more. And there is also a bit of some support group now, because the average Gen Z still has probably his father or his mother in the workforce, technically. And so he's not really feeling like, if I don't have a job, I'm going to be stranded. He feels like, okay, I still got a support group, or I can still do some small gig of my own. So yes, they are very prone to moving within a year or even less than in a year. I've had people who resumed and within a week they left the job and they've moved on. So it happens a lot of times. And I've had an executive director too who left after 2 months.
Interesting.
Ah.
Now, when we come back from this, I want to understand from again your point of view why people leave in that short space of time. That is quite short. So, what the possible causes are, and what can be done to reduce that, and also what raises the red flag if it's the employee themselves or it's the employer. You're listening to Office Journal on Smooth 98.1. Wow, that is such a short 2 weeks. That means the person didn't do his or her research before taking the appointment.
Life happens. So for some of them, what they were promised is not what they meant. And different people have different tolerance levels. So while some people will say, let's see how it goes, by and by, some other people may be like, you know what? No. And there's also this growing trend whereby people do not resign from one job before they join the other. So they take out a vacation, go and resume in the new place to test the ground, observe it for like a month. And if it is good enough, then they would resign from the old place. If it is not, they simply go back to their old job.
No way.
So people do that too. And of course, people are becoming more self-aware. It is no longer just an employer's haven whereby you feel like everybody's at your mercy. They need a job at all cost to survive. People now are beginning to say, oh, my mental health counts. I also believe I've got commercial skills that I can sell as an independent consultant by myself. So why get stuck in a place where I'm undervalued or underappreciated? Some other people are just restless, they are bored. And even in the HR industry, do we really judge job hoppers now? Nah, we don't really do that. So we'll talk more.
Interesting. Love music and love life. You're listening to Smooth 98.1. And if you are on the YouTube stream or on my Instagram stream, it means you have been getting the behind the scenes juice. Those are the ones that are juiciest. But don't worry, we will recount what we said behind the scenes. You're listening to Office Journal, and today we're talking about job hopping, especially from a recruiter's point of view. In other words, an insider, and those things that maybe you need to be careful before you job hop, and also as the employer. My guest is an HR consultant, and he is Mr. Victor Adebayo. So before the breather, I said I wanted to understand some of the possible reasons why a person would leave their job in 2 weeks. Is it the employer? Is it the employee? What could be wrong?
It's a combination of very many things as to why people leave. Some is the employer's fault, some is the employee himself. And I will give you some of the things we have seen happen within the industry as to why people quit their jobs very quickly. The first one is breach of contract. And this usually occurs whereby the employer has outlined certain benefits or certain work tools that would enable this person to be able to deliver on his assignment or project. And then he comes on the job and, everybody's looking around. We don't really do that here. And so promises are being denied.
Hmm.
Immediately, the person looks, you know what? There's no point. Don't let me just waste my time here. Let me move on. For some other people, it is also the fact that they have mixed reviews about the organization. So when they are going to that new organization, they would not have resigned where they were previously. They will simply apply for their annual leave, go to the new organization and try to experience it firsthand. So the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month into the place, they can then judge and say, okay, I think this is a place I want to stay in, or hell no, this is not where I want to go. And then they immediately just resign and go back to where they are coming from and, continue their careers there. For some other people, it is also the fact that, look, I am 3 organizations have reached out to me at the same time. And there is a particular one I am waiting on, but their offer is not coming on time. But these other guys have made me an offer. So, so I don't wait in vain, let me just take this one, go ahead, take the
Mm.
job. And then if the other juicier one that they really want to join then comes up, up they go, and then they move on. Of course, the Japa syndrome also comes in. I mean, I've hired someone for a client, and 3 months down the line, he was leaving, and I'm like, "What's going on?" He said, actually, he's been processing his visa and all of that." I said, "You never told me that." He said, "Well, we need to continue to earn income pending when we moved on. But can you hold them down? No." So there are several reasons why people simply move on. And for some places, I've seen people who the previous employer will call him back and say, "No, I need you back here. What are they giving you there? I'm going to update the benefits." And then they say, "You know what? The devil you know is better than the angel you don't know." And unless it is actually a very toxic environment, will they say, "No, even if you are quadrupling it, I'm not coming back." And then the person simply moves on. So, and with the increasing number of, gaps with fewer qualified hands to take that job,
Mm.
job hopping is bound to increase because it is now a price market. The few available qualified hands will always receive 3, 4, 5 offers at the same time. And guess what? Loyalty to employer is dying. The loyalty is now to self. Who meets my
Mm.
need immediately? Who pays me more? Who gives me good mental health? Who gives me the perks and the benefits I'm looking for? Who gives me the work flexibility that I am demanding? Once you get those things, you move and they don't think back. And if you like all the investment we've made in you, and I'm like, yeah, I was working too. So it was a two-way thing. You weren't making investment without me being
Mm.
productive. I was also equally productive. And so they move on. Do we, as recruiters, then get to judge these guys? We used to, but we are also opening up. And that's why I told you before, if you check somebody's profile, he's been stable in a place 5 years and all of that. Some people say, oh, he's a rolling stone, he's not staying in a place. The focus now in human resources is how do we optimize our onboarding such that we are able to get this person into the business as quickly as possible? And the impact he makes is right from the beginning. Gone are those days of your first 3, 4, 5 months in a company is like honeymoon, you're just strolling, relaxing, nothing much. Right from day one, you hit with a barrage of work and you are expected to deliver. So, because there are so many factors that would cause somebody to say he is moving on. And I've seen people who have resigned from a place of employment simply because the person they are dating each other in the organization, they broke up. And it's like, I can't afford to be seeing him every day. I want to move on. Well, what do you want to do about that? There's
Mm.
literally nothing you can do because he will just tell you it's for my mental health. And you'll be wondering, we are not in the business of persecuting our employees, if I can borrow that biblical term. We actually give them something great. But then there are other reasons they may not be able to tell you as to why they are moving on. So people will move for what their own reasons are. The best we can do is identify them and sometimes predict them. And that's why HR professionals will now say it's not just exit interviews, it is staying interviews. What will make you
Mm.
continue to stay here? And we have multiple generational representation in the workplace now. So what works for generation A may not work for generation B. How then do we strike that balance? It's a continual conversation. And if push comes to shove, because people are gaining more skills, getting greater degree of exposure, and then multiple opportunities to be able to earn income without necessarily being employed by a structured organization, many of them are opting for, you know what, I can do better by myself. I can do greater by myself. I would rather work with you than work for you. And these are some of the reasons why people quit. And then maybe if they hit stormy waters, they may say, you know what, let's go back into the industry. At least there's guaranteed salaries there. So, and like we always say, the parable of Joseph, the dreamer, 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. And so during the years of famine, they want to come in and work with you. But once business traction grows up that they can have a space of their own, they are gone again. So what do? Make the most of them when they're available. Simple.
Very, very interesting, I dare say. Thank you very much for that lucid explanation. If you have any question, you are welcome with it. 0809-444-0981 is the WhatsApp line, while the call line is 01448-9981. I want to extract something from what you said and get more clarity on it. When you talked about how people take a leave, they go on the annual leave, and then go to resume in another place and test the waters. So the question is there anything that possibly says you can't do that, or it is totally fine as long as there is no conflict of interest?
It is not ethical. One, it is against the rules of engagement. Two, but it is life.
Hmm.
You don't test the depth of a water with your 2 feet. People will tell you, what I do during my vacation is my business. So I am out on vacation. I am simply here testing the waters and then they go back. I am not saying it is ethical. I am not saying it is the right thing to do. The proper thing to do is to exit one and go into the other. If the two organizations find out, they can take their sanctions and both sides could decide to fire or terminate the appointment of such an employee. However, because life happens, I have seen people who resumed in a place and then within 2 weeks, the new employer says, you know what? I am not going to pay you the salary I promised anymore. I am changing the terms of appointment. And this person gets stuck. The story was told of a guy who left one of the big banks, foreign banks in Nigeria. He was offered almost 3 or 4 times his current salary in that bank to join a new IT company, not a new IT company. They've been doing some business with government. And when he resumed, everybody was like, he was getting about his job and people were giggling around him. And he went to inquire one day and he said, look, they've not paid us salary in the last 9 months here. And the guy was like, excuse me, what are you guys talking about? And true to it, at the end of that first month, there was no salary. Second month, no salary. Third month, that was when he knew he was in trouble.
Oof.
He ran back to his former employer, but of course, I mean, they've moved on. So some of these experiences is why people then, find some ways of survival to say, okay, so that we don't fall into these things. Now, the world has also been enabled by social media. But of course, there's also some of those religious sentiments that when things are happening, cover it to the person you may go and ask now, maybe the one that he carries a bad spirit that will not make that thing work. So it's a bit of a conflict. While, yes, I can ask people to know more about that company, but there's also that religious conservatism that says cover your secrets, don't let people know your next move, and people get into trouble. So because they are stuck, they try to find another way to be able to deal with that crisis. And that's why you see those things. It's not legal, it's just the survival mode that I think candidates or employees are trying to deploy in the job market.
Thank you. Like you said, there is no loyalty to employer, or it's more of a loyalty to self these days, and you won't blame them if their self-preservation kicks in.
Sure.
Interesting. Now, after this, I would like us to see if there are other possible ways to test the waters other than doing this. If there are other ways, I mean, for them not to have been paid for 9 months, okay, is it that you were supposed to go and ask some questions? How do you find out information so that you do not get into the pot of soup and realize how hot it is? That's one. And the second one, when we come back after this, is what happens when an employer breaks their contract to the employee? I mean, the terms and conditions. We said we will do this for you, we will do that for you, and then they do not do it. What is the employee supposed to do? Should they just resign, or it now becomes a license for them to do however in Nigeria anyhow? So after this, we'll take those. You're listening to Office Journal on Smooth 98.1. 9 months. Oh, Nadayo.
I had a lady I hired too. She was actually in that company. Nine
Oh my
months.
God.
She never got her salary till date. If I mention the name of the company, you'll be shocked. I don't want to go into all of that. Nine
No
months.
way.
She never got it. She never got it.
People are so heartless.
People do a whole lot of things. There's so many companies doing that. And I think the new bill at the House of Rep really, really needs to be passed around that salary thing.
I turned up my nose at the sight of that bill because the truth is, the people who are passing that bill, who even sponsored that bill, are guilty of it themselves.
And so
People
let
have
it
their
become
own
a law.
salaries.
Let it become a law, and then we can test it in the courts, which is what I was going to say in response to the second question.
All
We'll
right, so we're back. Personal finance every Wednesday, 5:15. And let Rotuzani's team teach you how to manage your money, increase it, grow it, and most importantly, protect it from every form of billing, if you know what I mean. You're listening to Office Journal on Smooth 98.1, where we love music and we love life. It's now 41 minutes past 11 o'clock. My name is Oluwaseun, and my guest is an HR consultant and management consultant with over, let's just say, 20 years of experience, still counting. And he is Mr. Victor Adebayo. It's been an insightful conversation so far on job hopping, especially from the recruiter's point of view. Now, we want to understand if there are other ways for you to get to know the pot of soup you're entering without necessarily breaking some ethical rules. In other words, one leg in, one leg out, and being unfaithful to your employer. Are there other ways you find out the state of where you want to resume to?
Yes, the world is highly connected more than ever before. The power of social media is there. You can get on certain websites, Glassdoor, for instance, Naira Land, for instance, and then throw out the question there, and people come up with anonymous profiles on some of these things, and immediately you will see various reviews about the organization, and this also affects organizations in Nigeria. So there are so many things written there. And you see things like, oh, they don't pay pension here. Oh, they've been owing us pension for so many years and all of that. And you get all of that information. So it helps you to be able to know. And there's always somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. So you can always go through that traditional word of mouth and then ask some of your friends, ask people around, people in your close circles, and then people that are within your circle of influence in the online market. That's if you want to go showing your identity, and then you can say, this company is talking to me. What do you know about them? Who are the sponsors? Who are the financiers? What is the management team like? And virtually every company now has, their profile online. So you can also type it in. Once you see certain names, I mean, with my experience, there are certain names. If I immediately see that name on your board, I'm out. You know, and if there are some names that I see on your board, I'm like, look, I'm in here. I'm in here, whatever the case may be, because those people have stood for certain things that we understand within the management, quarters. So those are ways in which you can obviously find out that information. There's another thing I also encourage people to do. Go to that company one of these days and towards close of business. And while people are setting out, just walk over to one random person, talk to them, introduce yourself to them and tell them some of these things. And be like, look, I'm sorry, I just wanted to talk to somebody anonymously. See, I have an offer from this your company, but where I'm coming from, there's no problem there. The only thing they're giving me here is a little more money. But like they say now, one for all for one. I don't want to live where I am eating bread and tea with the hope that I'll get jollof rice and chicken, only for me to get here and find out that I'll be taking, in fact, chin chin with water. Please, how is this place? And you guys can have a one-on-one offline conversation. I mean, there's something I tell people, even when you are going for your interviews, always ensure to get there 30 minutes, 45 minutes ahead of the interview. While you are sitting at the reception, watch the mannerism of the employees as they are walking around. Some of the idle conversations they have about the company. It tells you a whole lot about the company you are intending to join. And right from there, you can make up your mind that, you know what? Do I want to be a part of this company, or I do not want to be a part of this company? So those are ways you can also, get this thing. And this is the world whereby we are talking about mentors. Talk to some of your mentors. Some of them have helicopter view. So information that the junior guys may not have, they may have related with these guys at a senior level, and then they have more introspection into what that company is really like. Another reason why people also job hop is because they just want to get out of a toxic place, and they're looking for anywhere just to hang in there, pending when they find where they are going to. So sometimes people actually do this too, just to be able to move on. I just thought to add that. Now, to the second question you asked, where you're saying people who have been working for 9 months or for a number of months and they have not been paid. There are various ways to address that. The problem is people are always afraid that our judicial process takes a long time. And so they will tell you the little money that I have, I would rather focus on survival and looking for something else than paying a lawyer for every appearance when I'm not even sure about how the
Okay.
case will go. And I don't even know how long the case is going to go for. And that's why we are saying, look, even the NBA needs to start imbibing some of the practice that we see in some of the Western climes, whereby the lawyer is going to represent you. How much we make for it, I take a percentage of that as my pay. If we lose the case, we both do not get anything. If we win the case, then the percentage of your winnings, if I can put it in that way, becomes mine. So they can help. That can help. But yes, you can seek address. First, you can write a complaint to, Federal Ministry of Labor and follow up on it. They can be painfully slow, but yes, you can. You can go to get a lawyer who files a suit for you at the National and Industrial Court, but he who comes to equity must come with clean hands, so you must come with all of your facts and details. You must have records of your, appointment letter, the confirmation that you resumed, and all the other details. So you must have all of those evidences on hand. There are also people who go to alternative dispute resolution institutions of government where they can thereby seek, some judicial reforms in that regard too. But very often, the National Industrial Court is the last point of call for employees who have suffered such fate. And that's why we're also discussing off record or offline the other time that there's a bill with the House of Rep mandating payment of salaries within a period. There's something they do in Dubai. All salaries from all companies come into a central government purse. It is from that purse that it is disbursed to all the employees. So no company has the right not to pay within the time frame within that money must be disbursed. Why did they do that? They did that for two reasons. Number one, to be able to confirm taxes or appropriate confirmation of what people earn. So nobody's going to be saying, oh, we pay our people X amount, when in actual fact, they are paying them X amount, but there are other payments that they do under the ground. And so all of those things are not subject to tax. The second thing is also to protect the employee, to ensure no employer is taking advantage of his employee by owing them unnecessarily. So there is always a database of all employees at every given point in time with the ministry. So if you are paying anybody and you are not paying some people, they will know. So I am just, pleading maybe the House of Rep can adopt something close, but at least ensure that employees have a point of call once the starting date is passed, because according to the bill, there will be interest on every salary period that is missed. So if you don't pay me my salary by the 30th or 31st of that month, once we cross over to the new month, we factor in the interest, maybe 2.5% on a monthly basis. But then that must also be limited to a certain number of days or weeks, not even months now, so that the employee can actually get paid or the company gets sanctioned. Their account is frozen, the pay is deducted directly from them straight to the employees, and then the employer is also going to pay a fine to government. In a case where they are insolvent, then the process of insolvency must factor in the payment for the work done by the employees. I think this will also give more protection and cover to employees in that space. But a lot is happening in that space, a whole lot, a whole lot.
I am tempted to say Nigeria has a long way to go, but I also guess I would say baby steps. Hopefully, we take baby steps in the right direction and we don't take many steps backward. Hopefully.
Absolutely. That's a prayer. We can only hope. Once we lose hope, we start dying. So
Yeah. So
goes
I'll
on.
end with this interesting question from Ogbeni Skill A on Instagram, who says, I read an article about people working more than two remote jobs, and I think it's unfair to others who need the job. I'd like to know if there is a way recruiters can minimize this from happening.
What I would say to you is this: it's value. It's value, basically. Once you have value and you are visible, more and more people will come for you. They will ask you, to work for them. Some jobs give those kind of flexibility, and it's one of the great benefits of remote jobs. So based on the contract you sign with the other party, it allows you to take on other jobs. So nobody's going to stop you. I mean, in my investment banking days, we had a guy we wanted to hire in the IT space, and he said, look, I can't come in and work for you guys. I work for 4 other companies. I've got other deliverables. So I can't come and sit in your office. He told us what he wanted was 1.5 million net monthly. This guy never had a BSc. He stopped schooling in SS3 and then he started training himself in writing programs and all of those things. He became so good. He works for Google, he works for Amazon, and he works for about 3 American companies and then one Nigerian company. We were going to be the number 5 that he's going to be working for, and he delivers for everybody. Why is everybody looking for him? He's got skills. So there's no way a recruiter will find a good guy and let him go. He would simply tell him, do you still have time slot that you can put me on? And then they will simply just sign him on. But the second thing is, if you've got skills, are you visible? Where are you shopping from? There are several platforms online where you shop from. Various company career events that he's holding, go there. It's like someone who is looking for a life partner and he's always Netflixing and eating popcorn alone. How will they see you to marry you?
Stray bullets. Ah, Mr. Victor, stray bullets. Why? Why? Hi.
Go out there. Let them see you. And once they see you with that, they will ultimately be able to hire you. I mean, there's one of my former bosses, I worked with him when he started his own company here in Nigeria. He simply came looking out for me. And every single client he works with, at the end of their conversation, he will ask them, do you have an HR problem? And if they tell him, oh, yeah, he will tell you, I have one solution to all your HR problems. His name is Victor Adebayo. Many of the business referrals we've gotten is from him. When I was working with him, we could not tell what the future was going to hold, but I did my job well. So he doesn't believe in anybody else HR. He will tell his CEO, any people issues, call Victor. Whatever he advises, we go with it. And that has been working for us. So stay visible, hone your skills. The sky is the starting point for you.
Thank you so much. I always enjoy our conversations and I can't wait for the next time again.
No
Thank you.
problem. My apologies for coming in late today.
Fine. Fine. Thank you. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Now we're done with this one and we move on to the next one next week, 11 till 11:50 on Smooth 98.1. If you're just tuning in or just joining us, sorry, I've missed out on 50 minutes of good conversation and music as well. But don't worry, this stream is for you or is up on YouTube. That is youtube.com/smooth 91 FM Lagos. Again, smooth 91 FM Lagos. And if you're a part of our WhatsApp family, all we will do is just give you the link so that when you click on the link, you go straight to the video. All right. Thank you. Sorry, Lord Briggs, you're late. Thank you. All right, sir. Do have a lovely morning and a great day.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. You too. Enjoy. Bye.
Okay, so on the other side, I will be with you on Casbah from 12 p.m. till 4 p.m., making sure that you have a swell time listening to the African music. This is Smooth 98.1. This year, oh, thank you. Oh, Sam, you were there. Oh, thank you, Ogbeni Skill A. Thank you so much for being there. Do have a lovely day and bye. Thank you, YouTube. Catch you some other time.